What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics here, coming to you for the Sunday morning show. The week in review, the week that was. Lots of news this week. Has there been, there's the meme that goes around NBA Twitter all the time. It's like 0 days since the last, unnecessary drama or whatever. Whoo, boy. This week was a wild one. It's really been a wild year, actually, when you think about it. 2022 for the collectibles hobby / industry / whatever you want to call it has just been off the rails. It started with a bang with, Fanatics buying tops. Then we had all the nonsense this week, the Logan Paul thing, the G.I. Joe cards being inside, the memes upon memes that will be generated from that. It's then the backyard breakers. Crazy week. The Logan Paul thing's been discussed to death. Will there be fallout on BBCE? Probably a little bit of a black eye. I will be curious to see. So the interesting thing now is, do people that have wax wrapped by BBCE get a little curious and does someone crack another case open or something? And then find out that what is in there is not real. I saw Darren Ravel on Twitter was saying that the case of 86 Fleer that sold, about a year ago or so. I remember when it sold, I remember doing a video on it. Like, he's basically saying that should be opened. Like, we should open that and see what's actually in there. And it's an interesting angle to take. If that happens, that's a real bad look. If this just stays as a one-off, it's not a great look. They're going to have some PR work to do, but I don't think it's the end of the world. If more comes out, then it's going to get a little scary down. The Backyard Breakers, guys, they're idiots. I gave up following along on their trail of stupidity with, did they give the card back? Did they donate money? Did they give it to a friend? There's so much shenanigans going around with that. I'm sure it'll all come out in the wash. There's rumors of people are going to take legal action against them. We discussed this on Dakota Stream on Friday night. Does this bring a government eye to breaking, and what are the ramifications of that? Paul Lesko has made some points on Twitter over time that he believes breaking is a form of gambling legally, and could be interpreted that way legally, and then that sends things down a whole rabbit hole. And all it takes is one thing like this to draw unnecessary eyes to it. People were saying that they could have broken laws regarding commerce and giveaways and lotteries and federal stuff because it's state lines. Shenanigans. There's just a ton of shenanigans going on with that. The next interesting thing I am curious about regarding that situation isn't so much what happens to them. I mean, they're a clown show. We all know that. It's, do any platforms take a stand? Twitch, they're kind of small potatoes on Twitch in the grand scheme of things. I'm very curious to see what Whatnot does. At time of recording, I have not heard of anything yet. Maybe something happened and I could have just missed it. I'm recording this late Saturday night, or later than normal. So I'm curious to see if any platforms that they are actively use take a stand against them. Does shows have them back? They've been featured breakers at shows before. How does that stuff all play out for those guys? And then, circling back to the Logan Paul thing, it seems like most people have kind of ponied up their cash except for Card Kahuna. So we'll see what happens with that. He's kind of gone radio silence, and I don't know if he's lawyered up or not, but that will probably be fairly intriguing as well, what happens there. And that's really it for news stuff. I'm sure I'm forgetting of something, but those two things alone were just wild times. Wild times. And once again, I'm sure there'll be more fallout from that as time kind of moves on. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and hear a quick word from our sponsor, Myslabs.com, and then dive into today's video. So something a little different today. They are doing another giveaway over on the Myslabs comic book page. You could go over to the Myslabs Instagram account and follow the Myslabs_comics on Instagram, like and share the post. And you could potentially win a Hulk 180, which is the first cameo appearance of Wolverine in a CBCS 8.5. That's a pretty good sized book. First cameo appearance of Wolverine. It's not the first full, but that's a pretty nice prize. And they have announced recently that some new changes are going to be coming to the platform as well. They are potentially not. They are. I'm not sure when it's going to launch yet, but they are going to roll out raw cards, so you will be able to sell raw cards on there. And they were also doing some other things, but to me, that was the biggest news coming out of that was the fact that they will be able to do raw cards going forward. I'll be curious to see how that goes. I'm excited for that, and I think it's a really nice move by them, especially for, you know, some higher end stuff that's still in raw format, and maybe there's potential to get some pretty good deals out there. So if you're not using Myslabs, highly encourage you to check it out. There's absolutely no reason not to. They allow you to post cards on there for sale, or graded comic books, or wax, or NFTs, and you still have the cards in your hand, so it's not like a vaulting service, which gives you the ability to post them there. You can post them on other selling platforms, and it's only 1% seller fees plus PayPal goods and services. So you're only out 4% total, and you have PayPal for buyer and seller protection. It's kind of a no-brainer to post your stuff there, because you can leverage the platform and sell stuff a little bit cheaper there than eBay, and potentially move a card a little bit faster if people are smart and leveraging both platforms. So go check out their stuff. Once again, highly recommend our friends over at myslabs.com, and go win a copy of Hulk 180. That's a pretty big book. I wouldn't mind owning one at some point in time. First cameo appearance of Wolverine. There he is right there, showing up on the old last page in his full regalia. So once again, thanks to Myslabs. Let's go ahead and dive into some charts and graphs. Let's go ahead and start with football. I just got done watching the Bengals game. Pretty good game. Not like nothing too crazy happened there. I started watching the Bills-Patriots game and quickly realized I don't really need to watch this game because it's pretty much over at halftime. And it's halftime of that game at time of recording. So, Burrow, a lot of hype. The Bengals in general, a lot of hype coming into the postseason. They are probably, in regards to hobby-related stuff, the hottest team going right now. In general, football's kind of meh. It's kind of in hold-your-breath mode as we enter the playoffs. But Burrow stuff is doing extremely well. His week 17 and week 18, week 16 and week 17 to lock up their playoff shot. He didn't play in week 18. He just had massive games and had huge numbers, looked great doing it, played really well today. They didn't necessarily need him to put up big numbers. It was very back and forth defensive battle. Raiders had a good chance in that game up till the very end. But the Bengals are just red hot card-wise. First up, Jamar Chase. He obviously does not have a lot because Panini is super backed up on product. But his Don Russ, good old Don Russ, rated rookie, there's some PSA 10s out there. Only 9 of them. So this is kind of a weird one, but in general, his cards are way up. But this is his PSA 9 Don Russ. And I went with a 2-week chart on here because it kind of captures a little bit of that big game. $100 back on January 1st today. It is $300. Once again, pop 9 on this. We all know that that's not the real population. Up $200, 212%, $300 now. Don't go out buying this card in a PSA 10. 1, there's better stuff coming, and 2, we all know there is thousands of these, probably tens of thousands of these. Only pop 9 because someone actually graded this card for $150 at some point in time. But it finally paid off for them. So if they were smart enough to hold it, then good on them. But in general, Burrow, we're going to run through a couple different Burrow cards because once again, he's pretty much the hottest thing in football, and everything else, like I said, is pretty much flat to slightly down or just holding. I think essentially the football card market is in hold. Just everyone's holding their breath, waiting for someone to go off and have a big playoff game, or make a run, win a couple games, and then the snowball will start to build and players will start to drop off. Burrow base Prism, once again, I did 14 days on all Burrow stuff just to kind of get a better feel for it. Up 36%, $100 jump actually from 286 to 390. 2,400 pop on this, which isn't like insane for a base card. That's not that high. And remember, Prism Football 2020 came out before PSA shut down. So there could be some of these in the backlog, maybe a little bit. Let me see how many actually came on the pop report here in the last 30 days. So in the last 30 days, it's only gone up 10%, 220 have added to the population. So that's not like insane, but there's probably definitely a few of these in the PSA backlog, and there's obviously more out there. Probably a lot of them went to SGC and other companies. But base Prism doing pretty okay considering he's up, but it took an initial jump and then it's kind of flatlined since. I'll be curious to see now that they won today, does it get another bump? Or will people wait and see what they do next week? This is his Optic Hollow PSA 10 and PSA 9. Once again, going back 2 weeks on this one. Also performing pretty well. The Optic 10 is up to $800, a 20% increase. And the PSA 9 is up $10, just a small 5% increase on that one. So that one hasn't gone too wild, but the PSA 10 is performing pretty well. Only pop 220 on this. I'm sure there's some of these at PSA, but Optic Hollows tend to have very low population count and are very tough grades. So I can kind of believe this one just kind of hanging around there. And I think this is the last Burrow one. Maybe there's one more. This is his Prism Disco. You know, disco swirly balls as with some purple fairy dust, as Sports Cards Anonymous likes to call them. The main reason this one does pretty well is its color match. It's orange disco, or the discos are orange. Up pretty good on this card as well. 14 days, up 45%. Started the 2-week period at 650, up to 950. Pop 275 on this one. And once again, this has a color match aspect to it, so it gets a little extra love for that. And then there is one more, the classic Prism Silver, PSA 10 population right at 100. Once again, this is probably fairly accurate. This stuff would have been sent at little higher service levels regarding people worried about a PSA backlog on this one. Once again, we could check that really quickly. Only 7 have been added in the last 30 days. But this card is up a decent amount as well. 13% increase is a $400 jump. From 3,000 to 3,400. And once again, I'm curious to see how Burrow stuff performs now that they have locked in the win. I haven't seen anything end tonight. I took a quick glance before recording, but like I said, it's about halftime of the Patriots-Bills game, so we'll see. You know, if he would have went absolutely ham today, I think his stuff would have spiked. So I don't think it goes completely crazy. We'll see. Once again, I'll be very curious to see what he looks like 7 days from now. And then on the other side of things, Justin Herbert, I was curious to see what he is doing, just as kind of like a check-in. I pulled a bunch of his Prism stuff. A lot of it didn't have sales because I went back, once again, 14 days. I wanted to capture part of that end of the season because they were in it to the last second, basically, of Week 18. So I wanted to go a little bit before last week actually ended. And there wasn't sales on a lot of stuff, so I actually went PSA 9s here. So that's my reasoning with PSA 9s. But in general, he's holding okay. His Silver Prism PSA 9 is actually basically flat. Prism Base PSA 9, flat. Green, down ever so slightly. His Orange Disco, down ever so slightly. And then the Red Ice PSA 9, down the most, 27%, down $85 from 315 to 230. So the main one that I'm focused on here is the Prism Silver. There was only one PSA 10 sale that happened during this time period, so that's once again why I didn't use PSA 10s. And also his base holding, even though it's a PSA 9, the fact that it hasn't dropped and there's been 75 sales in 2 weeks is a decent sign on that. You know, do we get a Herbert dip? I don't know. How long does it take to get there? Is it more of a slow roll thing? I don't know. I would be interested in a Burrow dip. I don't know how much it would need to dip, but and I would honestly probably look at like these PSA 9 silvers if I was going to look to buy a Herbert dip potentially, or maybe some other Prism silver. I'm not going to pay, or other Prism variation. I'm not going to go crazy for Herbert Prism silver PSA 10s. They're too expensive, in my opinion. I just don't want to tie up that much money for that long a period of time. But if I could get some silver 9s or like a light blue or something like that, silver 9 or blue ice or whatever, you know, something along those lines, and a PSA 9 and get that, you know, in February or something when people kind of forgotten about him, and then hold that to like the National, I would be okay with that. And maybe it's not going to have the highest return on it. That's the thing I don't know. But, you know, as both myself and Flipping Steve have said, I think Burrow and Herbert will be two of the hottest names at the National. Last year's National was 100% football driven. It's all everyone was looking for. So I think trying to buy football, you know, in this early winter dip or midwinter dip, if it happens, once again, if it happens, with the potential to move it at the National, even if you don't make a ton on it, you know, maybe it only goes up 15, 20%. But if you could get it at a good deal, I think that stuff would have a lot of trade value, if nothing else, at the National. And the big part of the National and the big summer shows are the trade nights. And football will be very liquid at those late summer shows. So baseball, I don't really have much for baseball. The baseball market has been just kind of meh. I think once again, I used the expression earlier, everyone's kind of holding their breath, and baseball feels the same way. The labor talks are going they're not going at all. I would love to say that they're going somewhere, but they're not really going at all. I believe they met this week, but I didn't hear anything come out of it, good, bad, or indifferent, so that's probably not a good sign. Spring training is now a month away, so they kind of need to get going and figure some things out, but I think we lose spring training games. Does that cause buying opportunities? I don't know, but I'm wondering if it's going to limit selling opportunities because the ramp up to the season, what happens? Do people get mad and then not care about baseball even if they start losing some spring training games just because of the narrative around it? I don't know. I'll be curious to see what happens there. Soto stuff continues to be really hot. There's a bunch. I linked to one yesterday on a community post. A lot of high-end Soto got listed on eBay this week. Purple Refractor got listed. I think a PSA 10 Refractor got listed. A lot of high-end Bowman Chrome Sotos got listed this week. So I'm tracking those prices. I'll post them on community pages as we get closer to them ending. If you're just curious to see what they end at, I'm always just curious to see if they trump a previous sale to show that particular player's market is still moving up. So that's kind of it with baseball right now. It's kind of no news with them until the labor stuff. We have a better idea on it. The basketball side of things, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because I did a massive basketball video on Friday afternoon. So if you want some basketball market deep thoughts, go check that one out if you missed it. It went up late on Friday. I put it up later on Friday because of the Logan Paul video that I put up late on Thursday. But there are a couple things I want to touch on here. So we'll touch on these and then go ahead and wrap up. Cam Reddish, silver PSA 10. Oh, Cam Reddish, a legendary player on the channel all of a sudden after one live stream a few weeks ago. PSA 10 silver got a bump with the trade to the Knicks. It went up, and this is a 14-day chart as well, up 32% from 160 to 216. We'll see what he does. He was not playing well with the Hawks. He had a couple big games, but in general, he was playing kind of meh. There's a reason why they dealt him. That being said, as a Cavs fan, if that was all they would have had to give up for him, I would have been intrigued. I understand why they didn't do it, and I also kind of understand why they didn't get more for him. Remember, any team trading for him is going to have to want to pay him. He's going to want paid, and it's probably not going to be a small contract, so that's part of the equation on the deal for him. I am curious to see on the flip side what this does for DeAndre Hunter, because I feel like Hunter has been hurt, but when those guys were healthy, they kind of competed for the same minutes and the same shots, and I've always liked Hunter better than Reddish, so I'll be curious to see if maybe he can kind of break out a little bit, kind of get going. He's had a very down season, mostly injury related, but Reddish gets a little bump, and we will see what he could do on the Knicks. He's going to have a lot more opportunity to make stuff go. So maybe this is what he needed. Maybe he'll break out and have a monster second half of the season. We will see. Up next, Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson came back. Listen, as a Cavs fan, I can't stand Klay Thompson. That being said, even though it was against the Cavs, it was nice to see him make a full recovery and run around like an idiot earlier this week. And his card values have gone up a little bit. Not a ton, up 20%, $165 from $825 to $995. Now, if you run this back like 90 days, it's actually just barely up. He went up, kind of pulled back a little bit, and it has now gone back up off of him playing pretty well. Hopefully he can keep it going. You don't want to see anyone, unfortunate situation with him tearing the ACL and then the Achilles, or I forget the order on that exactly, but glad to see Klay Thompson back, even if it was at the expense of the Cavs this time around. And the Warriors are really good. Really, really good. So we'll see how deep of a playoff run they can make. Next up, it finally happened. We'll see if it holds, but it finally happened. I feel like we willed it into existence with Friday's video. In Friday's video on the NBA market, I could not fathom why Ja Morant silver prisms were still selling for below Zion silver prisms, PSA 10s. It made no sense. And then lo and behold, I go to research today's video, and the eBay gods have blessed me with the blue line jumping the green line. It is a big jump. It went from basically 1450 to 1725. I did look. There was no buy it now. It's posted cheaper, and there is a current auction running right now at 6 teams, like 1550 with bids with time to go on it. So this number seems semi-legitimate, but regardless, the auction that is running right now would be higher than the last sold Zion, so that would have done it if this sale didn't do it. But it's finally happened. The Ja Silver has leapt the Zion Silver. And with that, I can now sleep easy. The world is right again. Common sense has prevailed. Once again, we'll see how long it could last. Maybe Zion gets some good news in the next week or so and it spikes back up again. That could 100% happen. But Morant's playing out of his mind. He is the hottest player in the NBA. Human highlight reel. Twitter loves him. Dakota hates him. It's all good. But all was right with the world with the Ja Silver Prism leaping the Zion Silver Prism, even if it's only for a weekend. But I think it actually will stay that way for a little bit. And then closing things out, NBA Hoops has hit. I did the video kind of talking about it. It is the first product with NBA rookies in their jerseys. I was curious to see who was selling for the most. Now, this is just NBA Hoops based. Let's not go crazy here. I don't want to draw a bunch of big conclusions out of this. But it does kind of give us a sneak peek at who is in demand. Even if it's NBA Hoops, people are still putting a premium on one player over the other. And so far, and this is just base, I don't want to get crazy here, Evan Mobley is the most expensive rookie out of the class. Personally, I think that's justifiably so. But I'm a Cavs fan. So, biased alert. Cade Cunningham, second, not surprising. He started the season terribly. He has been playing fantastic early on. Josh Giddey, also playing really, really well. And not surprised by him being high on this list. Scotty Barnes, also playing really, really good. And then we kind of get into the malaise of this stuff can change any minute. But Evan Mobley and Cade Cunningham are the two off the rip so far that have the most hobby interest, I guess, if you will, with Giddey as well. We'll see if that holds. I'm just going to keep an eye on this. Once again, I'm not saying run out and buy Evan Mobley NBA Hoops rookies or anything crazy like that, but it's kind of set. This is setting the tone. And once again, this could shift because players are playing. Things could change. But this is at least setting the tone for, as the bigger product comes out, the players that could be in the most demand from it. So we'll see how it goes. That's all I have for you guys and girls today. Enjoy a bunch of football today. We have 3 games plus a Monday night game. Should be fun. I'm assuming the Bills close this out. They are just killing the Patriots at halftime. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you haven't. If you want to check out Market Movers, the link in the description down below. And don't forget, go check out Myslabs comic book Instagram page and maybe win yourself a first cameo appearance of Wolverine. Catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.